What is true happiness? It's a question we all think about, right? Well, today we're going to dive into a pretty fascinating answer from a spiritual teaching that's almost 200 years old. And it's this idea that real happiness doesn't just feel different, it actually literally bends time.
And get this timeless idea comes from a very specific moment. We're going to go way back, over 199 years ago, to January 16th, 1826 to be exact. We're about to witness a moment of just incredible spiritual clarity.
Okay, so I want you to picture this. We're in Vadtal, India. A spiritual master, Sriji Maharaj, is sitting before this huge assembly of his wisest, most dedicated followers. These are the sages, or munis. You can just feel the energy in the room. It's quiet, it's focused, everyone is hanging on his every word.
And then, right there in front of everyone, he asks a question. Not just any question, but one that gets to the absolute heart of what they're all there for. He asks, how can one experience the nirgun bliss of God? He's basically asking, how do you tap into that happiness that's, well, not from this world, the kind that's formless and divine?
But here's the part that's just, wow. These weren't just students. These were the top scholars, the best of the best. And they talked amongst themselves, they debated, but they couldn't come up with a good answer. And the fact that they couldn't answer, that just shows you how huge, how profound this question really was.
So, with the room full of silent sages, Sriji Maharaj decides to answer it himself. But for us to really get what he's about to say, we first have to wrap our heads around the two different kinds of pleasure he's talking about. So, let's break that down.
Okay, so on one hand, you have what the text calls mayic pleasures. This is pretty much everything we experience with our senses, right? The food we taste, the music we hear, all the good stuff. But, and this is a big but, it's all temporary. It doesn't last. And on the other hand, you have nirgun bliss. This is the complete opposite. It's divine, it's eternal, and you don't experience it through your senses at all. It comes from a totally different place.
And the teaching says that all those worldly, mayic pleasures, we only experience them in one of three states. When we're awake, when we're dreaming, and even in that deep, dreamless sleep. That's the whole playground for our normal, everyday experience. But this divine bliss, that's somewhere else entirely. It's beyond all of that.
So, the big question is, how do you even get there? How do you access that bliss? And this is where it gets really cool. Sriji Maharaj doesn't just give a boring definition. No, he gives them this incredible mental image to build. It's like a breathtaking analogy. Let's try and build it together in our minds right now.
All right, he wants us to do a little thought experiment. Ready? First, just imagine empty space. The text calls it Akash. Nothing else exists. Now, in your mind, get rid of everything else. I mean everything. Earth, water, fire, air. Gone. Just pure, empty space. And now, into that infinite void, he says to fill it. Not with stars, but with moons. As many full moons as there are stars in the entire universe. Can you even begin to imagine how bright that would be? The sheer intensity of all that light.
And right there, at the very heart of all that unimaginable radiant light, what the text calls the Chidakash, is the form of God. So that divine light, it isn't empty. It has a center, a focal point. And that is the vision you can reach in that state of deep spiritual connection they call samadhi.
Okay, and this is where we get to the absolute core of his answer. Because experiencing this vision, it's not just about feeling joy. It actually warps the one thing we all think is fixed and constant, time itself. So here it is, the real kicker. The contrast is just staggering. When you experience that divine bliss, even for a split second, it feels like you've lived through thousands of years of pure joy. But now flip that. Think about worldly pleasure. You could indulge in something for hours, for days, but when you look back on it, poof, it feels like it was over in an instant. It's crazy, right? One makes time feel infinite. The other just gets eaten up by it.
And that profound difference in how we experience time, that's everything. That's the key. It's what shows the ultimate difference between these two kinds of happiness. One is real and eternal, and the other, well, it's just a passing shadow.
And so Sriji Maharaj brings it all home with this final, powerful statement. He says, therefore, the nirgun bliss of God is eternal and imperishable, whereas the mayic pleasures are perishable. It's really that simple. It's not just about how good something feels, it's about whether that feeling lasts. One is timeless, the other is, by its very nature, temporary.
So, all of this leaves us with a really powerful question, doesn't it?
I mean, think about how we live our lives. We're always chasing things, right? Trying to stack up more experiences, more pleasures, measuring our lives in days and years. But what if this nearly 200-year-old wisdom is pointing to something deeper? What if the most profound, the most meaningful experiences aren't measured by how long they last, but by how deep they go? What if true, lasting happiness isn't found in a lifetime of searching, but in one single, timeless moment?